Hello! So in this tutorial, we will go through our crafting system. So that means discussing things about crafting requirements and the crafting UI. Okay, so first we'll go through the script for our crafting system. So we'll call it synthesizer for this tutorial. So in our synthesizer script, so what it does is it allows players to craft new items using existing items in our inventory. So here we have reference of our inventory system so that it can modify our inventory. Here is a dictionary to store the synthesis recipes or the requirements needed in order to craft certain items. So you can see here is a list of items that can be crafted and its requirements. Now here we have a dictionary that maps out the item names to their corresponding sprites, allowing the game to display the correct icon for each item that we craft. Then here we have a method that converts a list of item sprite pairs into a dictionary for easier access. So this ensures that each item has a sprite associated with that item. So here we have our synthesize item method. So what this does, it checks if we're going to follow an existing recipe in our synthesis recipe dictionary. And here it checks if we have the required items for that material to be crafted or synthesized. Then if we have enough items, it will remove those items from the inventory for us to use for the crafting. Then once crafted, they will add the synthesized item to our inventory and assign it an item name and also item quantity. And then it will assign a sprite for that synthesized item. Else, if we don't have an existing recipe, then it will show a debug log of invalid synthesis recipe. And lastly, the remove item inventory method. So what this does is this method removes a specified amount of an item from the inventory. So it loops through the inventory and removes items until the required amount has been removed. So to set up our synthesizer, we would like to create an empty object named synthesizer. And then inside that object, we'll drag the synthesizer script here, but since it's already set up, I'll just show you what it looks like. So it looks like this one. So pretty much you can add the items that you want to be crafted, and you just have to add the recipe in the script. So if we open the script, if you guys remember, this is the recipe. So all you have to do is add what recipe you want for a certain item, and then just assign the name and also the sprite for that item. So in our synthesizer UI script, so what this does, it manages the user interface for a synthesizer system. It also handles the display of the synthesis recipes, button creation, and the user input when synthesizing an item. So in our start method, so what this does, it initializes the synthesizer UI by checking the assigned components. So this is what it checks, or where it does the checking. And here it initializes the synthesis recipes of each item. Then auto-fighting the inventory system if it is not assigned in our synthesizer UI. And then it populates the UI only if all the elements are correctly assigned. So in our update method, what it does, it only goes on and off when the user clicks C or presses C rather, and prevents the UI from being disabled externally. So this is the code for that. Then this is the code when toggling the synthesizer UI. So next is the populate synthesizer UI method. So what this does, it clears the buttons and creates new ones for each synthesizable item, adding a click event to synthesize the selected item. Then for select recipe, so pretty much what this does is when the user clicks a certain button for a certain synthesizable item, it just shows the recipe in as a form of text in the side of the panel. So later on, I'll show you this. Then we have the update synthesizer UI. So this just refreshes the synthesis options by repopulating the UI. Okay, so with that, we'll set up our UI for the synthesizer now. So here we have our synthesizer panel that we made ahead, so I'll be explaining. So pretty much the same as our inventory panel, we made a panel object, and then assigned a child for the text, for the buttons, and so on. So here we have the synthesizer title, to let the players know it is a synthesizer. The synthesis list. So what this does is that it will update whenever a button here is pressed. So these buttons represent a item that you can synthesize. So every time you click the button, it will update into a list of ingredients or materials that is required in order to synthesize that object or that item. Then here we have the synthesis description text, so telling you to select an item to synthesize, and then the synthesize button. So when you select a item, you just hit synthesize, and then it will automatically update our inventory, and that synthesized item will go in our inventory. So in our synthesizer panel, so ensure that we have the synthesizer script here and put our inventory system reference, so that will be the player, since the player has the inventory system script. And also feel free to set up the UI as how you want it. So I'm pretty much trying to make it similar to our inventory UI. So with that, let's test it out when we play the game. So when you press C, you will open the synthesizer panel. So here we have 4 items that we can synthesize. So plasma shard, and here's the ingredients. So as you can see, the requirements are shown whenever you click each item. So let's say we want to make a plasma shard. So it requires 3 stone and 1 slime. So we have to get those materials. So there's a slime. We check inventory. So we have 1. So we're gonna find 3 stone. Oh no, there's a bear. Okay. So this big stone should have the enough materials for it. So yeah, 3 stone. So if we check our inventory by pressing I, so we have 1 slime and 3 stone, which is a requirement for a plasma shard. So if we click synthesize, then check our inventory again. Hold on, so there we have our plasma shard, and you can see that the items that we just collected are not in our inventory anymore because we use it to craft the plasma shard. Oops. So there you have it. So that's all for the crafting system and for the crafting system UI. So see you on the next one.